Episode 1, Kilikili. Kilikili is a registered trust that aims to create inclusive play spaces that are accessible to all children. Kilikili has worked with the BBMP to make 3 public parks in Bengaluru inclusive, the first being Coles Park in Frazer Town.
Coach Park had a lot of schools around it. There were some 6, 7 schools around in that area. So we felt that, I mean, even for other children, it will be good. And Coach Park was in a terrible state. So we said if we kind of refurbish it, it'll be good for all kids as well as for our kids also because, not really in the neighborhood, but somewhat, two of the parents who were part of the parents group were kind of in that area. So that's how we zeroed in on Coach Park.
The play equipment was modified after a consultation process involving children with disabilities, occupational therapists, special educators, and parents.
We looked at schools or institutions around which had children with disabilities. So Association for People with Disabilities, APD, is in Lingarajapuram. So we looked at them. They had a school and they were very forthcoming. So it was a phase in which we just went and spoke to people. Some people, I mean, most people supported. Some didn't kind of the things. It was just a matter of just going, talking to people, and some things worked, some things did. So we looked at APD first, and through APD we got other contacts because we really didn't know much about schools or institutions working with children with disabilities. So it was actually APD helped us a lot, and we looked at 2, 3 other schools. There was a blind school in the area. There was I think there was a school for the deaf also. Yeah, ISH, Institute of Speech and Hearing, which was also in Lingarajapuram. So like this, we contacted some 3, 4 institutions working with children with disabilities, and that's how we invited them for a consultation, which was held in a school right next to Coles Park, called St. Germain School.
Kilikili then approached the BBMP with their proposal. Coles Park was modified by the BBMP in partnership with Kilikili and was inaugurated in December 2006.
BBMP was very supportive. So Mr. Jairaj was then the commissioner, and he was also the president of the Association for the Mentally Challenged. So somehow he also had a link with the disability and the issues of children and disability. So he was, of course, very supportive. I mean, I still remember the meeting we had with him. We went with this big presentation and saying that now we have to convince the commissioner to, about the idea, and we had to do this and that. And what actually ended up happening was he didn't even hear us out. He just said, "What is the idea? Oh, okay, this you want? Okay. You contact this person and he will take it forward." It was some 3 minutes it took. So, he was very supportive. And so he told us, one of his juniors, you kind of coordinate with him and he will do it. And that's how the whole process happened. So what we decided was, at that time we didn't know better. So we said it's a partnership between the corporation and us. So we said the corporation can do all the civil work. So, the pathways to be laid, those kind of things the corporation can do, and we will sponsor the play equipment. So we did that. And it was only subsequently we got to know that the kind of budgets the BBMP has, they could do 50 times what we had sponsored. They actually had the capacity to do. So subsequent parks, none of the parks we sponsored anything. We would just be after them to do it because they all had budget. Making a play space accessible doesn't cost more money. Everything we've done is within budgets that the corporation has. We've not really been, except the first park, none of the other parks have we had to supplement. So it's often that they have the budget. It's just that one is they need a push in terms of where to use it, and they need to be given a little bit of, it's the imagination, that you can also do this kind of thing with this money. You can do something different. You can do something which is more needed, and so on.
Subsequently, 2 more parks in Bengaluru were made inclusive: Gayatri Devi Park in Rajajinagar and Krishna Park in Basavanagudi. Kilikili played the role of advisors and used BBMP funds to modify these parks.
There are only 3 parks which were done in Bangalore, and all the 3 parks were frankly only because of Mr. Jairaj. So when he inaugurated Coles Park, that time there were only 3 zones in Bangalore. Now there are some 8 zones or something. So Coles Park came in the East zone, and he said he will do both the other parks also. So basically, the Gayatri Devi Park in Rajajinagar and the Krishna Park in Basavanagudi, both of them were sanctioned by him when he inaugurated Coles Park. And to date, these are the only 3 parks which are still existing. In spite of us trying in various other places to do, it was only these 3 parks that actually happened. It's unfortunate, but definitely it was because of Mr. Jairaj that things moved, and they moved pretty fast, relatively fast. And we've not been able to do it in other spaces. We were in discussion with the BBMP for parks in Indranagar, Whitefield, Koramangala, and a bunch of other places. Indranagar, there were actually three parks because there were residents who were interested and so on. But somehow it just never took off. I mean, there were many issues. In Jainagar, it came, the park, we had selected the site, we had made the design, and then that park was going under the metro. So that was not, I mean, that didn't, kind of reach any this thing. Then, so each one had, I mean, there were a lot of what seemed then unsurmountable kind of issues with each of the parks. So in Koramangala, it actually got done for about some 50% of the work got done because the MLA there was very interested. And then they ran out of funds. So then it just kind of stopped. So, so there were many things that happened that with each park, there was some issue or the other, and things never really moved.
Kavita Krishnamurthy believes that there is a need for more community groups to push the BBMP to make more parks in Bengaluru inclusive.
If you're working with the BBMP, the only thing you need is perseverance. You have to just be at it, I mean, and it takes very long. The gestation period is very long. So you have to be at it. We were really lucky with Coles Park. It just happened in a period of some 6-8 months, which was, I mean, I don't know, maybe the stars were aligned or whatever, but it happened. The other two parks, we had to really push a lot. I mean, in spite of Jairaj being there and he being the one who is pushing it, we still had to work, really follow up with the BBMP a lot. While the BBMP may be willing to do and has the money to do, there has to be very strong community push. I mean, you have to have a group which is constantly pushing if something has to happen as a partnership. I mean, that was a very clear thing that we understood from all these processes. Maintenance has always been an issue, so it's also, see, it's a very funny thing. The development of the park comes under horticulture department, but the maintenance goes under education for some strange reason. Okay, so now when everything else is being done by horticulture, suddenly where is that education department going to come in only to look at whether a swing is broken or not? I mean, there are systemic issues here. And if you look at the education department, they are dealing with hundreds of issues vis-a-vis, education and whatever they need to be dealing with. That a swing in Coles Park is broken is hardly a priority, and I don't blame them. These are systemic things which, I mean, typically it should be within, like, who is dealing with the rest of the park? The rest of the maintenance of the park, or the plants and the flowers and the fountains, is with the horticulture. But only the play equipment is with education. How is that going to work? So there are systemic issues involved with maintenance itself. So when we say communities, we encourage, communities can only monitor. They can't maintain. So we've always said that the role of the community would be to bring whatever needs to be attended to the attention of the BBMP. And the BBMP, the local staff or the local whatever office, should be actually tasked with making whatever changes need to be done. If you look at Gayatri Devi Park, for example, there's a school called Tamahar, which is in Malleshwaram, and Tamahar children used to come quite often to the park. So, and they used to find it very useful because they also believe, see, all therapy can't happen only in the four walls of an institution. So, they also realized that, I mean, they were coming to the park more often, etc. After about 3 or 4 years, just a little before the pandemic, they approached us saying, the equipment is all damaged, and can you kind of help us put it back together? By then, I had already shifted to Chennai, and I told them, why don't you all do it?
Tamahar is a non-profit that works with children with developmental delays through the medium of holistic developmental interventions such as occupational therapy, speech therapy, arts, dance, sports, and play.
Right, Vaishali has known Kavita very well, and then she knew about Kavita developing the spaces for children with special needs. And then, actually, when we started off, Gayatri Devi Park had a space, and Kavita helped develop it. And then Vaishali was giving her some ideas too. And we were quite excited because our children cannot use the regular park because the way it is done, the swings are not accessible, or for somebody who do not have a big, the support, they can't sit in a regular swing. So we were quite excited about that. And then, I think we were the very first ones to start using that space. Pre-COVID times, we started using it. I would say almost 2 years we used it, regular visitors. So every 15 days, we used to go to the park and do our interventions over there. So after COVID, of course, it had stopped. Now recently we restarted. So when we go there, we look at having the entire sessions over there. So once in 15 days, children come there directly. Our interventions go there. They play in the park area. They have group activities. So we try to do all in one place. Oh, actually, we don't really maintain the park, but since we are the regular users in the park, we make sure that it is well kept and maintained. So all we do is we talk to the park manager. There's one chicken over there who regularly gets the cleaning done, and then we have the person from the horticulture department whom we approach, and we tell him, that this needs to be maintained and all that. So they take care of those things. In Gayatri Devi Park, what happened was the toilets used to be so dirty. For our children, they are not toilet trained, and most of the children are completely dependent on their caregivers. So if the mother had to go with the child, and where will she have the space to change the diapers? If it is so dirty, how can they even use it? They're worried about the infections. Those issues are still there. We have tried to approach people and try to get it resolved. It has not happened. Somehow the cleanliness, I think, has come about, but a proper place for them to change diapers, all that has not happened. So problems are there, and of course, I would agree that we have also not put in focused efforts towards getting it done. Probably if we did, it would work.
Kilikili then moved to the role of consultants and launched a technical manual that collates policy guidelines and technical specifications to develop inclusive parks in India.
See, we were a small parents group. While we are registered as an NGO, the character is really of a very small initiative. So we were also, we were running out of steam in terms of our own capacity to deal with so many requests. So we started saying that we will help local groups. We won't do it everywhere. We've done these 3 parks, which are like examples, or, and by then we had a certain, knowledge of how to work with the BBMP, who are the people to go to. We had, simple things like phone numbers. We knew who's to be contacted for what. I mean, that kind of know-how we had. So we said, let's put down all our learning and let people see. I mean, if there's anyone who is, interested and who wants to take it up, let them take it up. So that's how it's been, so right now it's really that. We only work with groups when they come. It could be corporations, it could be NGOs, it could be parent groups, it could be anybody. So they come and then we kind of give them, some leads, some inputs. We help them with design ideas and so on. But the actual development process, they will have to do.
With no communities pushing the BBMP to maintain Coles Park, the play equipment there soon fell into disrepair.
I know Coles Park is in terrible state and it's been in a terrible state for the last 3-4 years. But there's really not been any. We've been trying to get groups around to do something about it, but that's not happening. Krishna Park was not too bad and things have been going and schools have been coming, etc. Gayatri Devi Park, we were lucky that Tamahar stepped in and they kind of did it. But in terms of new parks, I'm not really seeing too much happening, as in nobody is really coming forward. There was this whole Bal Bhavan initiative with Mindtree, which you may have read about. So they had got in touch with us during the pandemic, but then that was a point when we were not able to travel, etc. So then I think they got somebody else to help them to do it, and that it got done. So I think as an idea, I think that it is there somewhere in Bangalore. It's floating around, but I'm not seeing anyone actually working very hard to make parks happen there right now.